I've always thought of myself as a lucky guy. My name is Mike, and I've been married to Sarah for 6 years. At least that's what I kept telling myself until everything crumbled. We had what I thought was a solid relationship. Sure, like any couple, we had our ups and downs, but we were a team. We went out for dinner, traveled together, and shared our dreams. I thought we understood each other deeply, but looking back, I realize I was more oblivious than I thought. It started with little things. Sarah began spending more time at the gym and less time at home. At first, I thought she was just trying to get healthier. I encouraged her, even applauding her dedication. But then I noticed how she would come back late, her excuses becoming a bit too rehearsed. "Sorry, babe, got caught up with a friend," she'd say, with that practiced smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. I brushed it off. I trusted her, or at least I thought I did. One weekend, I was working late when I stumbled across a text message on her phone. It was a simple, "Can't wait to see you tonight," followed by a heart emoji. My heart sank. I had always respected her privacy, but there was something about that message that twisted my gut. I wanted to confront her right then, but I didn't want to jump to conclusions. After all, she could be meeting a friend, or maybe it was just a harmless flirtation. But the next few days were telling. Sarah was distant. She was polite but cold, and every time I tried to talk to her about something that mattered, she would brush it off. It was as if a wall had been built between us. The hardest part was that I knew something was wrong, but I couldn't put my finger on what it was. I started to feel paranoid, questioning every little interaction. It gnawed at my insides like a persistent itch I couldn't scratch. I decided to do some digging. It felt wrong, but the unease was consuming me. One afternoon, while she was in the shower, I took a chance. I scrolled through her texts. My heart raced as I found more messages, all flirty and suggestive, making it clear that my wife was involved with someone else. The name Jake popped up repeatedly. I felt sick. I can't describe the wave of nausea mixed with anger that surged through me. My mind was racing, trying to process the betrayal. How could she do this to me? The betrayal felt like a punch to the gut. I knew I had to confront her. I couldn't just sit on this revelation. We had to talk. I was furious, confused, and heartbroken. But I also felt a strange sense of clarity. I couldn't let her get away with this. I had to know the truth, even if it shattered my world completely. That evening, I decided to take her out to dinner. I thought it would be an appropriate setting to have this serious conversation. I wanted to hear her side, to see if she would confess. Little did I know that the dinner would turn into an emotional roller coaster I wasn't prepared for. As we sat down, I kept my composure on the outside, trying to act normal. But inside, my mind was unraveling. "Mike, what's wrong?" she asked, tilting her head. I could see her fidgeting, a sign that she knew something was off. I shook my head, forcing a smile. "Nothing, just wanted to take you out. It's been a while since we had a date night." I could see the relief in her eyes. She thought I was just being sweet, completely unaware that I was about to drop the bomb of all bombs. After some small talk and when the wine started flowing, I decided it was time. "Sarah, there's something we need to talk about," I said, catching her off guard. She looked up from her glass, a slight frown forming. I took a deep breath, my hands shaking slightly. "I found some messages on your phone. Who is Jake?" The atmosphere shifted. Her face drained of color, and for a moment I thought she might actually confess. But instead she leaned back, crossing her arms defensively. "Mike, it's not what you think," she exclaimed, her voice rising a notch. "Jake is just a friend from the gym. We were just having fun." There it was, the classic excuse. I wanted to scream, but I held it together. "Just a friend. Sarah, I've seen the messages. You can't lie to me." She stammered, trying to weave web of excuses, but I wasn't buying it. I watched her try to manipulate the narrative, making me feel like the unreasonable one. The anger bubbled inside me, but I remained calm, letting her finish her glass of wine as I steeled myself for what came next. This was just the beginning, and I knew I had to devise a plan for the revenge that was starting to brew in my mind. I couldn't let her get away with this betrayal. I had to show her the consequences of her actions. I mean, how could she look me in the face and lie like that? As the dinner came to a close, I quietly paid the bill, feeling an overwhelming sense of finality wash over me. One way or another, this would change everything. I knew it, and deep down she felt it too, but I wouldn't let her off easy. After that dinner, my mind was a whirlwind of emotions. I left the restaurant feeling like I had just been through a tornado. Sarah's pathetic excuses echoed in my ears, but deep down I knew the truth. I had seen the evidence, and I could no longer pretend everything was okay. The initial shock of discovery faded into a cold fury that ignited something within me. I spent the next few days plotting. It felt strange to think about revenge against the woman I had loved for so long, but the betrayal was too deep to ignore. The image of her intertwining with Jake, laughing and sharing intimate moments while I was left in the dark, fueled my anger. I wanted her to feel the weight of her actions, to understand that what she did was not just an error in judgment but a complete breach of trust. Every time Sarah walked into the room, I felt that rage boiling beneath the surface. I didn't want to confront her again just yet. I wanted to gather evidence, to make her understand the consequences of her actions when the time was right. It was time to play the long game. I started by casually observing her routines. I'd wait until she went to the gym or out with friends, and I took notes on her patterns. I even signed up for a free trial at her gym, blending in while maintaining my distance. I couldn't believe I was doing this. But watching her interact with Jake, seeing how comfortable they were together, made me feel even more determined. They would laugh and joke around, sharing glances that I could never share with her again. It was suffocating. Then one afternoon I saw them together outside the gym. They were standing too close, laughing too hard at something only they knew. I took a few pictures from a distance, my heart pounding with a mix of anger and desperation. The betrayal was raw, and I felt like I was losing control of everything. I wanted to scream at her, to confront them right there, but I knew that would ruin everything. I wanted her to realize what she was losing in the most powerful way. With the photographs in my pocket, I headed home, a mixture of adrenaline and anxiety coursing through my veins. I started drafting a plan. I would wait until I had enough evidence to confront her properly. She needed to understand the extent of her betrayal, not just in words, but in undeniable proof. I wanted her to see the reality of her deception when I showed her the images of her with Jake, the man who had taken my place in her heart, at least temporarily. Days passed, and I kept gathering evidence. I managed to capture Sarah and Jake out together a couple more times. I wanted to document everything. Each photo became a piece of my revenge puzzle. I felt powerful knowing that I was collecting the tools I needed to turn the tables on her deceit. I also started thinking about how I would reveal everything. I wanted to break her down in a way that she couldn't escape from. I pictured us sitting down together, maybe at that same restaurant where she had confessed. The scene played out in my mind, her face when she realized I knew everything, the shock combining with regret as she scrambled for excuses. I wanted her to see what she had thrown away. But then there were moments of doubt. What if I was making a mistake? What if this revenge was going to hurt me more than it would her? Could I really go through with this? I spent sleepless nights wrestling with these thoughts. I loved her, or at least I used to. The memories of the good times we had together were difficult to shake, but every time I remembered her laughter with Jake, the decision became clearer. I also started confiding in a close friend, Dave. He was a solid sounding board, and I could always rely on him for honest advice. I told him everything that had happened, the texts, the pictures, the feelings of betrayal. "You have to confront her, man. Don't let her get away with this," he urged. His encouragement only fueled my resolve. I didn't want to be the victim in this situation. I wanted to reclaim my power. After a few weeks of planning and collecting evidence, I felt ready. I wanted to confront her, but this time it would be different. I wasn't going to let her manipulate me with her apologies and tears. I would be calm, collected, and in control. This wasn't just about revenge. It was about reclaiming my dignity. I decided on a Friday evening. I knew she would be coming home from the gym. I prepared myself, taking the time to organize the photos neatly. I knew that when she walked through that door, it would change everything. My heart raced as I waited, the minutes stretching on forever. I envisioned her surprised expression when I revealed the truth. Finally, I heard her footsteps in the hallway, and I steeled myself. She walked in, her hair damp from the shower, smiling as if nothing was amiss. It was time. As she leaned in to kiss me, I stepped back, my heart pounding. The moment was here. "Sarah, we need to talk," I said, my voice steady but firm. I watched as her smile faded, a flicker of anxiety crossing her face. The calm before the storm was brewing, and I was prepared to unleash the thunder. The atmosphere shifted immediately as I uttered those words. It was as if the air in the room became charged, thick with tension. Sarah's smile faltered and her brow furrowed in confusion. "What do you mean, Mike? Is everything okay?" Her voice was a blend of concern and defensiveness, and I could see the wheels turning in her mind as she tried to gauge the situation. "Everything is not okay, Sarah. I know about Jake," I said, my heart pounding in my chest, the adrenaline surging through me. I pulled out the photographs, laying them out on the coffee table between us. Like a cruel deck of cards, her eyes widened in horror as she glanced at the images captured in moments of betrayal, her laughing, leaning into Jake, the intimacy evident in every frame. "What? No, Mike, those are just, it's not what you think," she stammered, her voice rising as panic set in. She grabbed the nearest photo, her hands shaking. "This isn't proof of anything. It looks bad, but it's not what it looks like." I felt a wave of anger wash over me as her excuses began pouring out. "We were just having fun. It was innocent. You know how I can get when I'm at the gym. I'm just socializing. You're being paranoid." Each excuse felt like a stab to my heart, each denial further revealing her desperation. Did she really think I would buy this? "No, Sarah, it's exactly what it looks like," I shot back, my voice low and steady despite the storm of emotions swirling inside me. "You've been lying to me. How long has this been going on? You think I wouldn't notice? You think I wouldn't care?" Her facade began to crack. I could see the panic written all over her face. She looked away, clearly unable to meet my gaze as the reality of her actions settled in. I didn't mean for it to happen," she finally admitted, her voice faltering. "I just got caught up in things and it was a mistake." "A mistake?" I echoed, incredulous. "You call this a mistake? You've been cheating on me. Did you think I wouldn't find out? Did you think I wouldn't care enough to look?" The hurt in my voice was palpable, and I could feel my eyes stinging with unshed tears. It was infuriating to watch her struggle to come up with an excuse that made any sense. "Please, Mike, just let me explain. You don't understand," she pleaded, her tone shifting to desperation. "I thought we were in a rough patch. You've been so distant lately. I just wanted to feel something again." "Feel something?" The anger inside me flared. "You think that justifies what you did? What happened to us, Sarah? We were supposed to be a team." I paced the room, struggling to contain my tumultuous emotions. The betrayal felt heavy, like a weight I couldn't shake off. She tried to reach for me, her expression shifting to one of regret. "I'm sorry, Mike. I never wanted to hurt you. I love you." The words flowed out of her mouth with such conviction that it almost made me hesitate. But then I remembered the laughter she shared with Jake, the intimacy I'd never been shown in the last few months. "Love? You love me?" I asked, incredulous. "If you loved me, how could you do this? You've shattered that trust. What we had is gone." My voice cracked, the pain spilling over. I felt like I was standing on the edge of a cliff, looking down at the abyss of betrayal and heartbreak. "I'll do whatever it takes to make it right," she cried, tears streaming down her cheeks. "Just give me a chance. I'll show you I can change. I'll stop seeing him. Just please don't give up on us." Her pleas were frantic, and I could see how much she wanted to salvage what we had. But I couldn't simply forgive and forget. The sting of betrayal was too fresh, too raw. I had trusted her, and she had thrown that trust away like it was nothing. I took a deep breath, trying to find my voice amid the emotional chaos inside me. "You don't get to decide how this ends, Sarah. You made your choice, and now it's my turn to make mine." The realization of what I was saying hit me hard. I was done being the victim. I was done letting her dictate the narrative. It was time for me to reclaim my life, to choose my own path moving forward. I felt a sense of power in that realization. Sarah's face fell as she realized the implications of my words. "What are you saying? You can't mean that." "I mean that I can't be with someone who doesn't value me. I can't stay in a relationship where trust has been obliterated." The strength in my voice surprised even me. "I deserve better, and so do you. Maybe we both need a break to figure things out." Her eyes widened in disbelief. "You don't mean that? I can change. I can prove it to you." "No, Sarah." I shook my head, the finality of my decision settling in. You had your chance and you blew it. I'm not going to be your fallback option. If you really loved me, you wouldn't have put yourself in this position." The silence that followed was deafening. It was as if the world had stopped spinning for just a moment. I watched as she processed my words, her expression shifting to a mixture of sorrow and fear. This wasn't the outcome she had expected, and I could see that realization dawning on her. I felt a sense of closure wash over me, though it was mixed with sadness. The emotional journey I had been on was exhausting, but I knew that this was the right decision for me. I wouldn't let her manipulate me anymore. I wouldn't let her lies define my worth. As I turned to leave the room, taking a moment to gather my thoughts, I heard her voice break. "Mike, please don't go." "I have to, Sarah. I need to take care of myself now." The weight of the decision felt heavy, but there was also a newfound clarity. I was reclaiming my narrative, and for the first time in a while, I felt hopeful about what lay ahead. This was just the beginning of the aftermath, but I was ready to face the consequences of her actions and my own choices. I would move forward, even if it meant walking away from the life I had known. It was time for me to find my own happiness again. The days following that confrontation felt surreal. I almost felt like I was moving through life in a haze, as if everything around me was happening in slow motion. The house felt empty without Sarah. The silence was deafening, and the weight of my decision settled heavily on my shoulders. I felt a mix of relief and sadness, but I knew I had done the right thing. Still, the reality of our separation forced me to confront my own emotions more than ever before. As the days turned into weeks, I got a glimpse of what life would look like without her. I moved into the spare room, trying to create some distance between us. It was a jarring reminder that the life I had known was gone. The pictures on the walls felt like ghosts haunting me, memories of happier times taunting me. I took down the photos we had together, stashing them away in a box, an attempt to rid myself of reminders of our once happy home. During this time, I found myself relying heavily on Dave. He became my confidant, my sounding board, and a source of support during this tumultuous period. I would often meet him at a local bar, and he would listen to my frustrations and fears. "You're doing the right thing, man," he reassured me one evening over a couple of beers. "You deserve someone who respects you. You'll find your way back to happiness." It was comforting, but I still found myself grappling with a sense of loss. Was I going to be alone forever? Would I trust again? The questions haunted me, and I spent many sleepless nights staring at the ceiling, contemplating my future. I started journaling my thoughts, pouring out my emotions onto the pages. It became a cathartic release, a way to process the whirlwind of feelings swirling inside me. One night, as I was jotting down my thoughts, I got a text from Sarah. My heart raced as I read the message. "Can we talk? I miss you. I'm really sorry for everything." I hesitated, my fingers hovering over the screen. Part of me wanted to respond, to hear her side, to see if there was any glimmer of hope for reconciliation. But then I remembered the pain, the betrayal, and the overwhelming anger that had driven me to end things in the first place. I didn't respond right away. Instead, I put my phone down and let the silence wash over me. I needed to remind myself why I made this decision. I was reclaiming my life, and I couldn't let her pull me back in with apologies and promises. A couple of days later, I ran into Sarah at the grocery store. I hadn't been prepared for that encounter. I was standing in the produce aisle, staring at ripe avocados, when I heard her voice. "Mike," she said softly, almost hesitantly. I turned, and there she was, looking as beautiful as ever. But the vibrant smile I remembered was replaced by a somber expression, her eyes downcast. "Hey," I replied, trying to keep my composure. "What are you doing here?" "I just needed to get some things," she replied, her voice barely above a whisper. "I didn't expect to see you." The silence hung between us, heavy with unspoken words. I could see she wanted to say something, but the words caught in her throat. I felt a surge of emotions, anger, sadness, longing. I wanted to hear her justify her actions and then tear those justifications apart. But I also felt a sliver of compassion for her. "Look, I don't want to make this awkward," I said, my voice steady. "I think we both need some space to figure things out." She nodded, biting her lip as if she was holding back tears. I understand. I've been thinking a lot. I made a huge mistake and I messed everything up. I never wanted to hurt you. I know, I replied, trying to keep my tone neutral, but we can't go back to the way things were. Too much has happened. Her shoulders slumped and I could see the regret written all over her face. I know, I just wish I could take it all back. I think about you all the time. That simple confession struck a chord within me. I had been so long angry and hurt, but in that moment I could see the vulnerability in her. I hope you find what you're looking for, Sarah, but I can't be part of it anymore. I get it, she said, finally meeting my gaze. Her eyes glistened with unshed tears. I just hope you can forgive me someday. I didn't respond. I turned away, feeling the weight of that encounter settle heavily in my chest. I knew I had to keep moving forward, but seeing her again stirred up emotions I thought I had buried. As I walked away, I felt a mix of relief and sorrow. I was reclaiming my life, but the memories of our love still lingered, an ache that would take time to heal. I needed space to breathe and to navigate this new reality without her presence. In the weeks that followed, I began to focus more on myself. I picked up old hobbies, reconnected with friends, and started exercising regularly. I went hiking on weekends, enjoying the solitude of nature and the peace it brought me. Slowly, I felt the heaviness of the heartbreak start to lift. I was learning how to enjoy my own company again, and it felt liberating. But I knew that I needed to confront one last thing before I could truly move on: my emotions surrounding Sarah, the anger and hurt that still lingered. I decided to write her a letter. It wasn't to rekindle anything, but rather a final farewell to the relationship we once had. I poured my heart into it, detailing my feelings of betrayal, my struggles with trust, and the hope that one day I could forgive her. When I finished the letter, I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. It was a step toward closure, a way to articulate my feelings and let them go. I didn't know if I would ever actually send it, but writing it felt like a necessary step in my healing process. I tucked it away in a drawer, feeling at peace with my decision to put it all behind me. I was ready to embrace whatever came next, whether it meant healing alone or finding new love down the line. I had learned that the most important relationship I needed to nurture was the one with myself. The journey ahead was still uncertain, but I was more than willing to face it head-on. As the weeks turned into months, I found myself settling into this new chapter of my life. The initial heartbreak began to feel like a distant memory, and while I still had moments of sadness, they were accompanied by a growing sense of freedom. I had taken control of my life, and I was learning how to stand on my own 2 feet again. I threw myself into work, taking on new projects and responsibilities that challenged me. I found myself rediscovering passions I had put aside during my relationship with Sarah. I even started taking cooking classes, something I had always wanted to do but never found the time for. The joy of creating new dishes became a small victory in my daily life. I also began to open up to the possibility of new relationships. I started dating again, albeit cautiously. I had met a few women through mutual friends and dating apps, and while none of them felt like a perfect match, I enjoyed getting to know them. Each date reminded me of what I wanted and what I needed from a partner: honesty, loyalty, and someone who genuinely valued me. One evening, I met a woman named Lisa at a local cafe. She had a warm smile and an infectious laugh that immediately put me at ease. As we chatted, I found myself opening up about my experiences and the lessons I had learned. It felt good to share my story with someone who listened without judgment. I wasn't ready to rush into anything, but I felt a spark of connection that had been absent for so long. But even as I navigated this new dating world, Sarah's shadow lingered at the edges of my thoughts. I still hadn't sent that letter I wrote to her months ago. It felt like an unfinished chapter, something unresolved that needed closure. I had hoped that time would help me fully let go, yet the thoughts of her would occasionally creep in, usually at the most unexpected moments. One day, while I was at the grocery store, I spotted her across the aisle. My heart dropped. I hadn't seen her in months, and the sight of her sent a rush of emotions flooding back. She was laughing with a friend, looking carefree and radiant. For a moment I was struck by the memories of the good times we shared, the laughter and affection that defined our early years together. Then just as quickly the anger resurfaced, reminding me of how she had betrayed that love. I hesitated, debating whether to approach her or to quietly retreat. Ultimately, I chose the latter. I grabbed my items and made my way to the checkout, avoiding eye contact. As I paid, I felt a strange sense of empowerment wash over me. I was in control of my own life now, and I didn't need her approval or presence to validate my worth. A week later, I finally decided it was time to send the letter. I wrote a brief note at the top, saying that while I had hoped for closure, I realized that I didn't need her response or any further communication. I needed to let go of the past completely. I sealed it in an envelope, and with a mix of nervousness and determination, I dropped it in the mailbox. As I walked away, I felt lighter, as if I was shedding the last remnants of that chapter in my life. I had taken the step I needed to move on completely. I didn't know if I would ever hear back from her, and honestly, I didn't care. I felt that I had given my feelings a final voice, and that was enough for me. As months passed, I continued to focus on myself and my newfound independence. I traveled to visit friends in different cities, rediscovered old hobbies, and even started volunteering at a local shelter. Giving back became a significant part of my life, providing me with fulfillment and a sense of purpose. I found joy in helping others, and it helped me realize that love comes in many forms, not just romantic. It was through this journey of self-discovery that I finally understood the most important lesson of all. Healing takes time, and that's perfectly okay. I learned to embrace the uncertainty and to appreciate the small victories along the way. I was no longer defined by my past, but rather shaped by my resilience and determination to move forward. Then one sunny afternoon, I received a text that caught me off guard. It was from Sarah. "Hey, Mike, I got your letter. Can we talk?" My heart raced as a mix of emotions surged through me. Part of me felt an urge to ignore it, to maintain the distance I had spent months cultivating. But another part of me was curious about what she had to say after all this time. I took a deep breath, reminding myself of everything I had gone through. I wanted to respond with the strength I had gained, not from a place of anger or hurt. After some contemplation, I replied, "I'm willing to meet, but I need to be clear that I've moved on." We agreed to meet at that same cafe where I had first met Lisa. I arrived a few minutes early, my heart pounding in anticipation. I wasn't sure what to expect. Would she apologize again? Would she try to convince me to reconsider? When she walked in, I noticed a difference in her demeanor. She looked more composed, less anxious than the last time I had seen her. We exchanged polite greetings, and she took a seat across from me, her expression serious. "I wanted to talk to you about everything that happened," she began, her voice steady. "I've had a lot of time to reflect since we last spoke. I know I hurt you deeply, and I'm genuinely sorry for the pain I caused." I nodded, feeling a sense of validation in her words. I had needed her to acknowledge the hurt to understand the gravity of her actions. "I've realized a lot about myself and what I need in life," she continued. "I've been going to therapy to work through my issues and understand why I made those choices. I didn't respect you or our relationship, and I've been trying to confront that." Her honesty caught me off guard. While part of me wanted to dismiss her and walk away, I found myself listening. She seemed sincere, and I could see she was genuinely trying to take responsibility for her actions. "I understand if you can't forgive me," she said, her voice trembling slightly. "I just wanted you to know that I've changed." I took a moment to process her words. "I appreciate you reaching out and being honest," I replied, my tone measured. "But I can't go back to how things were. I've moved on, Sarah. I'm focusing on my own happiness now." "Of course," she said, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. "I get it. I just wanted you to know that I'm sorry, and I hope you find someone who truly values you." In that moment, I realized I had finally found closure. I didn't need to carry the weight of resentment or anger anymore. I had grown, and I was on a new path to happiness. As we finished our conversation, I felt a sense of peace wash over me. I was able to walk away from that chapter of my life with my head held high. I had learned through the pain, and it had shaped me into a stronger person. I left the cafe feeling lighter than I had in years. I had faced the ghosts of my past and emerged victorious. I was ready to embrace whatever came next, armed with the knowledge that I had the power to shape my life and create my own happiness. The future was bright, and I was excited to see where it would lead me. The conversation with Sarah left me with a sense of closure I hadn't anticipated. It marked the end of one chapter and the beginning of another. As I walked away from the cafe, I felt lighter, as if the burdens of the past had finally been shed. I had faced my pain and had come out stronger, but more importantly, I had rediscovered my self-worth. In the weeks that followed, I focused on nurturing the new life I had built for myself. I continued dating casually, meeting new people who shared my interests. Each connection was a reminder that there were still good, genuine people in the world, and I was learning to trust again, even if it was a slow process. I went on hikes, traveled to new places, and spent time with friends, all the while rediscovering the joy I had lost during my tumultuous relationship with Sarah. I became more involved in volunteering at the local shelter where I met people from all walks of life. They all had stories of struggle and resilience, and my heart was opened further by their experiences. It was humbling, and it helped to put my own pain into perspective. One evening, while volunteering, I met a woman named Mia. She was vibrant, with an infectious energy that lit up the room. As we worked together organizing a donation drive, we struck up a conversation. She had a passion for photography and an adventurous spirit that intrigued me. We shared stories, laughter, and a sense of camaraderie that felt refreshing. It was a slow burn, but eventually, we began to see each other outside of our volunteer work. Our connection blossomed into something beautiful. With Mia, I found a sense of comfort and understanding that had been missing in my life for so long. We explored the city together, tried new restaurants, and talked for hours about our dreams and aspirations. She brought out the best in me, and I felt that I was finally ready to open my heart again. But even as I fell for Mia, I made sure to keep my past in perspective. I was open with her about my experiences with Sarah, the betrayal, and the lessons I had learned from it. I wanted to ensure that I was building a relationship based on trust and communication. To my relief, Mia appreciated my honesty, and it only deepened our bond. One afternoon, while we were picnicking at a local park, something shifted in the air. As we sat on a blanket, surrounded by the laughter of families and the warmth of the sun, I turned to her. "I feel like I've finally found my way back to happiness," I said, a smile spreading across my face. "Being with you makes me see that there's so much good left in life." She smiled back, her eyes sparkling. "I feel the same way, Mike. You deserve all the happiness in the world. I'm glad you're finding it." That moment felt monumental. It was a reminder of how far I had come. I was standing in a new chapter, having shed the confusion and pain from my past. I had learned that love could be rebuilt, that it could be found again after devastation. But I also knew that building a new relationship meant taking things one day at a time. I was grateful for the lessons I had learned from my experiences, and I was committed to nurturing this new love with Mia. As the summer days rolled on, I embraced the changes in my life. I took my time with Mia, not rushing into anything but savoring each moment. I found myself thinking about the future, allowing myself to imagine a life filled with joy, laughter, and the kind of love that I had once thought was lost forever. I had come to understand that life was messy and unpredictable. We all have our struggles, and we all face heartbreak at some point. But with growth, introspection, and a willingness to move forward, I had learned that healing was possible. I realized that the most important relationship I needed to nurture was the one with myself. Through the pain, I had discovered resilience, strength, and a renewed sense of hope. I was no longer afraid to embrace life, with all its imperfections. As I sat there with Mia, watching the sun set on another beautiful day, I felt a warmth in my heart that had been absent for far too long. I knew that the journey ahead would have its challenges, but I was ready to face them with the lessons I had learned and the love I had found. In the end, I had transformed my heartbreak into a stepping stone toward a brighter future. And for that, I would always be grateful.